Alright, we're back. We got our welder back. It's fixed. As you can see, it was burning like crap. And now it's burning a lot better. So I've got to get it adjusted to the steel that I'm actually going to weld. And what I did is I took a piece of my scrap and I put slices in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at this end where things will burn apart, and I want a nice smooth weld. And then once we get that, we're going to get back over to her. Alright, as we get more and more done, I'll take little videos and put them all together. Okay, we're back. I got my rear out of the way. Piece of metal there so I can cut. I got the back section of the frame welded together. Make sure you use a T-square when you're putting things together. And I got the back, this portion of the frame on there welded. Now how we do this is I'm gonna box this in here, and how I do that is I take a piece of cardboard and I cut it down and I tape it and cut pieces and tape it until it fits inside of there perfectly, and then I'll be able to weld one whole piece in instead of trying to use a bunch of different little pieces. And I'll do that for both sides. And then once I get that together, I have two pieces of angle iron, and this is how I'm going to make my frame straight from the front to the back. Is I'm going to go off of the mounting brackets right here, and I'll clamp it down, and then I'll support the back section with a jack, and I'll be able to clamp it and move it around and get it to where I need it. And then I'll mark the center sections out, and I'll come back and show you that once I get everything together. Alright. Okay, I made my template. As you can see, it will, wrong side. Go in here, nice fit, and it works on both sides. So I went ahead and I cut out my metal, cleaned it up. What you do is just take the cardboard, lay it on a piece of steel, and trace it and cut out your mark. And once you cut out your mark, it should fit right back in there. Might have to trim it up a little bit here and there, but okay, that's that part. Once I get everything welded in, I am going to have to put in a piece. So, but at least I got one piece for the front. And then once I get all this done, I'll be ready to mount the rear section and make the middle rails. So once I get to that, I'll bring it back. Okay, we got a lot of work done. Getting ready to make the section of the frame between the front frame and the box rear. We got our center section off the going of in between the tires, which I had already done for the bed when I cut the bed out. a lot of junk in there now. So that's where I'm going to put my frame at, on the inside. And I've already marked. This is where your marks on the floor. When you started this thing, you got everything straight and made sure everything was where it needed to be. But now you go off of that floor, and that's why I say do it in a crayon pencil, because I'll put them down with pencils and they disappear through all the work and crawling around and getting things back and forth and welding, and so crayon is the best option. I've got everything into place. What I do is, it's a truck, so I'm taking the bed. The bed is perfectly flat where it bolts on, and they would be the two ears, and that's why I didn't cut off the two ears. I started my frame, the end of my front section there, and then I created where my back tires would fit in there to the back. And now I'm getting ready to tie it all together, and I use a bunch of levels to make sure everything's perfectly level, and chalk the back section so it can't hang. Make sure they're even, and that way you can add your weight to it. You can do whatever you need to do. It's just helping you work off your grid that you put down. And I'm gonna make these by, I take just a square, and I run it up on there, and I start the mark, and then I continue the mark. That tells me what this frame is. And then what I'll do is I'll put a jack down in the front with a piece of wood going across this. That way when I set it down on there, the front will catch and the back will just lay there. That way I can tack it where I want it, and it will all come together here shortly. And then I can plate the sections of the frame that I want to box it all in, make sure it's nice and strong. And with that, once it's welded up and I take the grid off of it, I'll come back to a frame and show you what other work I added. And I know I've got to do a hoop, and I've got the brace that comes across. I have to cut a notch out of that because my drive shaft's going to hit it. So I'm going to do a good bit more work, and then I'll bring you back and show you the progress. But this is how I set up, and like I said, the truck was wrecked. So it was bent up. We've seen that on the floor markings. One mistake I made is the truck's higher than it should be in the rear. You should make sure it's all flat when you start, but I had to get those tires out of there, and it was easier for me to do it this way. Plus I knew I was going to use the channel to make a bridge so I can lay everything to my frame. So I knew it would be perfectly straight, because if you don't get it straight, when you set your bed on there, you'll have a gap between your bed and the cab. It'll either be at the top, or the top will be smashed in really tight, and this will help you from doing that. That way when you put your bed back on it, it sets where it should set. Alright, I'll come back once it's all done. Alright, I'm going to bring you back. Got the frame welded in. I got the template taken down off of it now. And I've set my parts in that I have to work with now. Now the initial frame will be getting all cut apart. I did make templates for these plates up here, and I did them 6 or actually 5 by 4 And I made a little template 4x4 so I could get my edges that I need. See, it fits that way and gives me that edge. And then fits that way and gives me that edge. So now I have to make the channel for the shock to hook onto. I have to notch out the frame there. I have to cut that piece of the frame out of there. And then once I can get the motor in, I'll be able to drop it down to where it's going to sit and build something to attach the 4-link. But for now, I'm just finishing off the rear of the frame. Okay everyone, I'm going to bring you back, do a quick update before I take everything apart. I've got the rear frame together. Put the shock tower in, it's tack welded in, it still has to be cut out as you can see. And I'm putting another brace in there. And then the rear is pretty much done. I still have to do the 4-link, but I can't do that until I get the motor and everything back in it. So I'm going to be moving on to doing a roll cage until everything comes back, and I'll clean all this up and re-weld it all up. I had to order a new welder because this welder just ain't going to cut it. So I went back to my old Harbor Freight $100 flux core welder, which I can get to burn the steel enough to tack it. So once I get the welder back, I'll be able to weld everything up. And till then, we're going to move on to the roll cage that's fell apart over there. And we're going to start getting that tacked to the frame, and I'll cut in and put in. So that's it for now. I did want to clarify one thing before I go. Once I got the frame off of the template that I made for it, I dropped it down and measured it. I was a 16th off, way better than the bright inch and a half that I had before. And so how I went about holding everything together is you get your front set down to where you need it, and you just put, I don't know if you can see, you can't see, just wood shims and underneath your frame stands to set everything where it needs to be. That way, as you weld, the heat's going to want to make things bend up and bend down, and this way it'll hold everything solid where you need it, since you have taken your main brace off there. This will help keep everything where you've got it. Okay, I'll see you when we come back.